How much more upside do we have for dollar yen?
I don't really think very much. If you took into account the factors, the risk on, I think your last guest summed up pretty well, might be short-lived if it's to do with the progress, I say in quotation marks there, on the G side of things with Donald Trump. Because we've got a lot of actual trade frictions to come up. So when we get to the end of the month, a lot of people haven't been talking about how the steel tariff exemptions on the US's closest allies actually come to an end. Those exemptions need to be rolled on by the president himself. And you have the upcoming US-Japan summit, where that will be discussed at quite a lot of length in detail. And that will also be discussing the North Korean talks too. So for dollar yen, I think it's not really about trade talks. Why? So we're short dollar yen. We're looking for 100, by the way. It's not really one of the reasons why I'm short dollar yen. It's more about a fundamental dollar view and also an overvaluation in dollar yen versus its fundamentals. But in terms of the trade side of things, I think it'll be more short-lived than people think.
Well, and you raised the point that you're less constructive on the dollar. Is that because we wind up having the twin deficits here in the U.S.? And yes, we've had it for a while, but the CBO came out yesterday and said we're going to hit $1 trillion shortfall by 2022. How does that play into your dollar thesis?
It's a large crux of the thesis, really. If you have an expanding deficit, both on the current account side, the fiscal side, that double deficit problem that you're talking about, you need to ask the market to fund that spending by the US. And you're at a time of the US also going from a very strong dollar position. We're still relatively high versus history. Maybe we're sort of middle of the way, but on a real basis, it's still pretty high. You're going from a strong dollar to a weaker dollar. It's not a weaker dollar to a weaker dollar. So you still have a lot of overpricing in dollar to come off. And dollar yen is still one of those pairs where a lot of that positive dollar momentum is there thanks to the Bank of Japan's policies.